Welcome to This Explainer. Today we are diving into a genuinely fascinating psychological phenomenon. You know that friend who constantly cancels plans just to stay in on a Friday night? Everyone knows this person, right? The one who is mysteriously sick again, perpetually exhausted, or always tossing out a polite, maybe next time. But here's the kicker. That person isn't actually avoiding anyone. They are protecting something deeply important. In a world that literally never stops demanding our attention, choosing to stay behind closed doors kind of gets a bad rap. Yet, if we peel back the layers and look at the actual psychology behind this choice, a completely different reality emerges. It turns out, that friend curled up on the couch, they are absolutely onto something profound.
So here is a question for you. Do you prefer pajamas over parties? Seriously, think about it for a second. Does the simple act of throwing on sweatpants and settling in for the night bring way more genuine excitement than getting all dressed up for a night out? Think about that specific massive wave of relief that washes over you when plans unexpectedly fall through. Boom, suddenly the evening is wide open. No loud music to shout over, zero traffic to fight, and absolutely no exhausting small talk to navigate. For those who feel that rush of pure joy when a social obligation gets canceled, well, get ready to feel very seen. This explainer is going to unpack exactly why that happens, and spoiler alert, it is a completely healthy response.
Section 1. The Homebody Misconception. Society often labels the desire to stay home as, well, boring. But science? Science calls it something else entirely. There's this huge cultural narrative out there that staying in means giving up, being antisocial, or just lacking ambition. But let us set the record straight. Those canceled plans aren't about laziness or avoidance. It turns out choosing the couch over the club is actually a deeply ingrained biological and psychological response. It is literally a necessary mechanism for preservation. When someone repeatedly chooses their living room over a packed, noisy restaurant, they are not failing at being social. Nope, they are successfully managing their neurological limits.
Moving on to Section 2, the science of recharging.
We have to talk about the core biological differences in how different nervous systems gather energy. Think of the human brain like a smartphone battery. Extroverts recharge by being right in the middle of the mix. Their energy source is the noise, the movement, and the unpredictable chaos of a crowded room. Being around people literally plugs them right into a power source. But introverts, and those who naturally thrive in solitude, well, they recharge in complete stillness. For these folks, every single social interaction, even a super fun one with close friends, slowly drains that battery. Processing a dozen conversations, reading body language, and just existing in a highly stimulating environment costs a tremendous amount of energy. So when that social battery hits 1%, home is essentially the only charger that actually works.
This whole dynamic is beautifully explained by something called optimal arousal theory. In psychology, this is the concept that different nervous systems require entirely different levels of stimulation to feel comfortable, balanced, and happy. And just to be clear, in this scientific context, arousal simply means neurological stimulation, basically how awake, alert, and active the brain is. Some people need really high levels of external stimulation. We are talking loud music, bright lights, fast-paced talking, just to feel energized and hit their baseline of satisfaction. Others, they require significantly less to reach that exact same baseline. For them, a quiet room and the sound of a gentle rainstorm outside provide the absolute perfect amount of neurological input. Needing less stimulation is absolutely not laziness. It is just how the brain is wired from the ground up.
Let us look at Section 3, controlling your environment.
Out there, the external world is completely unpredictable. It is like a relentless obstacle course of loud strangers, sudden weather changes, weird unwritten social rules, and forced small talk with acquaintances who, let us be honest, do not really care about the answer. The brain has to constantly remain on high alert to process all of this chaotic data. But at home, there is complete, comforting control. The environment becomes a perfectly tailored sanctuary. The lighting can be dimmed to the exact right level, the noise can be totally muted or swapped for a familiar soundtrack, and the overall vibe is entirely curated. No sudden surprises, just predictable, soothing surroundings.
And for people with high sensitivity or anxiety, having that environmental control isn't just a luxury, it is survival. When the outside world feels overwhelmingly loud and fast, stepping through that front door and locking it acts as a crucial reset button. Curating a calm, predictable space becomes an absolute necessity to decompress and navigate daily life effectively. Without that safe harbor to retreat to, the continuous onslaught of external stimuli would eventually lead to complete, total burnout.
Which brings us to Section 4, the solitude advantage. Research reveals something absolutely fascinating here.
People who genuinely enjoy being alone possess what is known as the solitude advantage. Because their energy isn't constantly directed outward towards social performance, they tend to be highly introspective, vastly more creative, and seriously skilled at complex problem solving. Staying home isn't doing nothing. It is literally the active birthplace of the best ideas. Think about it. Those major cognitive breakthroughs rarely happen in a crowded, noisy bar where attention is fractured. Nope. They happen in a quiet corner with a good book or during a deep, uninterrupted thought spiral at 2 in the morning when the rest of the world is finally quiet.
Modern influencer culture heavily romanticizes being out there, right? It constantly pushes this intense pressure to live a loudly broadcasted life filled with endless external memories, perfectly curated party pictures, and constant movement. But what if the ultimate best life is actually just a documentary, a warm bowl of soup, and absolutely zero obligations? Craving that simple scenario is not sad, and it certainly isn't boring. It takes real courage to step off the societal treadmill of constant social performance. Recognizing what actually brings genuine, quiet joy is a sign of profound self-awareness.
Section 5. Peace versus hiding. Now, we definitely need to draw a careful line between healthy solitude and darker struggles. While staying home is incredibly restorative for so many, some people stay home because social anxiety, past trauma, or depression quietly whisper, "What is the point of going out?" For these folks, leaving simply feels too heavy, the outside world feels far too threatening, and home transforms from a refuge into a cage. The defining question we always have to ask is this: does staying home actively fill the cup and bring joy, or does it stem from a place of fear and hiding? Healthy solitude feels expansive and peaceful, whereas hiding feels isolating and restrictive. Recognizing that difference is absolutely paramount.
And finally, Section 6, Wired for Depth. For those who are truly thriving at home, there is absolutely zero fear of missing out because they are simply living differently. Immense joy is found in the small, quiet rituals that most of the fast-paced world rushes right past. It is the deep satisfaction of the perfect morning coffee routine, completely undisturbed by the demands of others. It is the physical comfort of sinking into that one specific, perfectly worn-in spot on the couch. It is taking 10 quiet minutes just to watch the way the golden hour light slowly moves across the living room wall at sunset. These everyday moments hold immense weight and beauty.
Psychologists actually have a specific term for this. It is called low stimulation preference. This psychological trait means an individual possesses an inner world that is so incredibly rich, complex, and vibrant that they simply do not need constant external entertainment to feel alive. Their own thoughts, hobbies, and quiet interest provide more than enough engagement. The chaotic world outside just isn't required to keep the mind occupied, engaged, or happy. They are completely self-sufficient when it comes to finding fulfillment, totally capable of turning a completely empty afternoon into a deeply satisfying experience.
So, for anyone who regularly turns down invitations without a single ounce of guilt, for those who feel deeply fulfilled on a totally solo Saturday night while everyone else is out chasing a good time, for anyone who would rather rewatch a favorite comfort show for the 10th time than go out and perform for a crowd, understand this: you are not broken. You are just wired for depth over noise. You are wired for peace over performance. Embracing that reality is the ultimate form of self-care.
Which leaves us with one final, lingering question. Do you genuinely prefer staying home, or is society just making excuses for needing rest? Take a moment to deeply reflect on the psychology we explored today and consider what truly recharges the human battery in a profoundly exhausting world. Thank you for joining this explainer, and keep exploring the fascinating science of the mind.